Ladies and gentlemen, how the bloody hell are we? I hope you're well. Welcome back to the Small Kind Ding Repairs editing suite. This is the powerhouse behind the channel. If you didn't know, last week I was on a podcast called The Dust Up. It's an Australian podcast. It mainly focuses on Australian shapers. As the podcast describes itself, the podcast is for shapers and surfboard nerds. It's hosted by Cory Russell down here, who's a longtime shaper and CNC operator. I've listened to this podcast myself for a long time. An old connection of mine through downhill skating back in my 20s, Adam Baldwin, right there, was on the podcast in 2023, and so that's how I discovered the podcast. I'd highly recommend you listening to this one. Adam's a cool guy. He's done some really cool stuff. He is continuing to do some really cool stuff, and it was a worthy listen. And the most recent one I listened to actually was with Uncle Wayne Roach here, who has some epic stories. So yeah, a good listen as well. The Dust Up doesn't currently have a YouTube channel, and so when I was talking to Cory about coming on the podcast, I asked him if he'd mind if I recorded our conversation and upload it as kind of a raw version. And I recorded our conversation before the podcast started and after the podcast ended as well, so there's some kind of behind the scenes stuff there. Consider this the extended version of the version on Spotify currently and all those other streaming platforms. If you're not interested in the video version, that's totally fine. Head over to the Dust Up on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts and give it a listen there. Cory did a great job of editing the podcast, so the audio version is really good, and there was a bit of a thing in the beginning where there was an audio delay, so whenever I would speak, Cory had a little bit of delay, which I didn't realise at the time, and that led to me interrupting him a couple of times. And when I listen to podcasts, I think there is nothing worse than when somebody is constantly interrupting somebody else. We got on top of it in the end, we got a little bit of flow going on, but just keep in mind, in the beginning there was that delay, and yeah, my apologies to Cory again for interrupting him, and my apologies for you for having to listen to that. And so that's basically it. Enjoy the podcast. If you're a New Zealand shaper, I would encourage you to listen to this and reach out to me anytime. Feel free to call me. Feel free to message me on Instagram or Facebook. You're more than welcome. And if you have any questions about Shapers Collective, anybody else, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you. I'm hoping the idea of Shapers Collective is contagious, and even if it doesn't keep the same name, little things like this I feel like could pop up in communities around the world. Anywhere that there's a local surfboard manufacturing industry, I feel like this is possible, and I honestly think ding repairers are the gateway to that, which is of course discussed in the podcast as well. So that's it from me. If I sit here any longer, I'm going to rabbit on for hours on end, so I'm going to leave you to listen and or watch this. Again, if you're not interested in the video version, head over to Spotify and check out the Dust Up or wherever you listen to podcasts. And after you've listened to this one, there's plenty there on the Dust Up to listen to, some good ones. Like I said, I recommend Adam Baldwin's and Roach's, definitely worth listening to. I hope you're well, guys, and thank you again to Cory and the Dust Up for having me on, and I hope you're all very, very well. We'll see you very soon. Easy. Sorry, give me one sec.
You're right, mate.
Easy. Weird to talk to you. I was just listening to your podcast with Roachy.
Yeah.
Which was fun.
Good fellow. It was
yeah.
It was a tricky one though, because he's a bit older and just reflecting a lot.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it was. He'd go in. I don't know how many times he told me the same story, and then he'd go back and forth because it was over 3 phone calls.
Oh, true. I did notice some cuts in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of it was little glitches in internet. Some of it was So
yeah,
I think he came out pretty good, and like initially he was a bit freaking out, but yeah, he was all good in the end.
Yeah, nice. No, it was good. Definitely, some interesting stuff in there. And man, he's got some stories for sure.
That's the thing. Like, he's done so much.
Yeah.
Unless he sat down and sort of identified what, the path he was going to take. Yeah. It was always going to be a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But in the end, I think we got there. And it was all good, really.
I actually found you originally because in my 20s, I was a downhill skateboarder. So I used to travel the world and bomb down mountains.
Oh yeah,
And Adam Baldwin, who you had on,
yeah,
he used to make downhill skateboards.
yeah.
So a lot of the Groms that I
He did.
skated with, my little 12-year-olds, they were sponsored by Skatement, which was Adam's brand. And then years
Yeah,
later, we
right.
both kind of like tracked down the same path and went from downhill skating into the surfboard manufacturing world. So
Yeah, right.
I know him. I don't think I've ever actually met him, but we've spoken quite a lot. He's a good bloke. That was a good
Yeah,
podcast as well. Yeah.
yeah. He's very. Um, it's almost like there's people that get deep on the construction and less on the design. There's other people that obviously obsess about the design and not the construction.
Yep.
Um, oh yeah, I found it interesting. He's a good fellow. Yeah, so really appreciated his time in the chat. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Something different too. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Everything he does is something different. Yeah, no,
yeah.
solid dude. Yeah.
I just find that like I chatted to Dylan Parise the other day, and uh, he wanted to know what the deal was. How we go about this,
Yep.
and I spoke to him mainly about his new leg rope plug, but I also wanted to give him the chance to promote his own brand. And yeah, I sort of said to him the same, that there's so many good podcasts where they're very biographical,
Yes. Yep.
and we try and scratch away and get the the parts in the cracks a bit more and try and target who we're talking to and about what. So
Yes. Yeah.
um,
Yep.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, just try and don't know,
Is that
just
that's
try and
that
bring in a bit more of a shaping perspective.
Yeah, yeah, which is kind of what I like. I listen to Surf Splendor a bit as well, and I find that they don't do a lot of talk about shaping in particular, even though they talk to shapers. Yeah, there's not a lot
Mm.
there about shaping, which is interesting. Where
No,
yours
when it
seems to
starts
differ in
getting,
that way.
yeah, it starts to get into the design aspects, he sort of pulls out,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's like you don't need to understand it necessarily. Just let the people talk. The shapers should be able to describe it and explain it. But
yes, yeah,
hey, we've all got our thing, and
yeah. That's it. Yeah,
I
definitely.
get criticized for not going deep enough.
Yeah,
Um,
you can never win everyone, man.
no, that's right. And it's like, I get it, but I could go full nuts and bolts and it would alienate more people than it would attract.
That's
So
the thing too. Once you start talking about shaping and fin placements and all that type of stuff, well, now you're a real niche audience.
correct,
Yeah,
which we are, and I'm happy with that. And
yeah,
uh, I don't want to. I have no desire for the podcast to be advertising fucking mail order groceries or
yeah.
fucking betting,
Yeah.
gambling shit. I got no interest. Like,
No,
it's not the motivation for it, and
no.
got zero interest. And I'd tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, yeah. It's always been the
So,
same with the YouTube channel too. All that, yeah, mail order
ah,
groceries and VPNs and stuff. I'm just, yeah,
yes.
not that keen.
And I think the more it goes on, people are getting sick of it.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I pay for
I
YouTube
understand people got to
Premium
make
for
a
a
dollar.
reason. Yep.
Yeah. But at the same time, they're like, I don't know. I feel like if you don't jump at every dollar and you
Yep.
pick and choose, it actually makes it more valuable and people will respect it a little bit more
Definitely.
rather than
Definitely.
just, grow your penis, fucking take
Exactly.
these pills.
And then when you do
You
advertise
want
something,
zero.
then you're gonna like if you I don't know. I saw there's another YouTuber called Rogue Wave Surfboard Repairs. He does repairs as
Okay.
well, and he did an advert in one of his videos, but it was for a boot company, and it was
Yeah.
probably his buddy's company who made really nice boots. And I watched that whole
Yeah.
ad because I was like, well, he doesn't sell VPNs and groceries
Yeah.
and yeah, all that shit. So I watched this, and they were a good set of boots. And if I lived in the
Yeah.
States, I
Right.
probably would have bought some. Yeah.
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 Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
Hey, I'm
just
just going to
about, I'm
close this
actually
blind
the, yeah, man.
because it's bright. I'll be back.
Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, that light was so bright.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Well, actually, at the start of yours, but for a while I've been thinking about it. But I want to, well, give people the opportunity that for their brands and whatever, they can put together little audio ads,
Oh
and I'm
yeah,
just gonna drop them into the potty, and yeah, just make it a little bit more wholesome and connected, and
yeah,
more
yeah,
about the community than anything else.
yeah. No, that's cool. That's
So
very cool. Yeah,
we'll see. See
yeah,
what the uptake is, though. Some people don't want to do it.
yeah. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Pick and
So,
choose.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Daniel, how do I pronounce your surname? Is it just Hawes?
Pause. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, no
yeah,
worries. Um, so initially, not being disrespectful, um, the motivation for getting you on is obviously to explain the Shapers Collective,
yep.
but by all means, touch on the occult surfboards and what you've been doing, and yeah, pretty much straight away, I'll give you the opportunity to explain sort of your history in the industry, and whatever you want to say is all
Yeah,
free
yeah,
reign.
yeah. Cheers.
If there you have total control in the way that if you start saying something and then you go, oh, I don't want to say that,
Yep.
just let me know. And I'll
Yeah.
go, oh
Okay.
no, I don't want to say that, and I'll edit it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, I have had to do that in the past
Yes.
with surfing Queensland stuff and some other stuff. But yeah, if there's anything that you sort of don't feel right about, I'm not here to create clickbait or start any feuds or
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
caught up in any negative. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's all positive, yeah.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, see how we go. So if there's any dramas, if you need to take a break, let us know. Um, yeah, anything at all, just sing out, man.
Yeah. Nice one. Cheers. That should be
Cool.
easy. In
I think
theory,
so.
you just sit there and have a
Well,
conversation. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. I try and keep it as informal. Like I think when I put in the description, it's as if people have walked in on, two shapers, surfboard industry guys just having a chat in the factory. So it's not uh, trying to be something that it isn't. Keep
Yeah.
it low
Yeah.
key and
Yeah.
go from there. So all right, we'll start recording and I'll introduce you, and then we'll just roll on, mate.
Yeah. Beauty.
All right.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Welcome to the Dust Up. Daniel Hawes from Shapers Collective in New Zealand. You're our first overseas guest. How are you, Daniel?
I'm pretty good, thank you. I'm still Aussie though, so I don't know if it counts. I'm an expat.
Oh, you
Yeah.
relocated.
Yeah. Relocated. Yeah.
When did you move to New Zealand?
11 years ago. But
Yeah,
I
right.
I was trying to live in Hawaii, so I took a hiatus from Hawaii. I was going to spend a year here, and then I just never left. New Zealand's got that way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Fell in love or enjoyed the waves, or what kept you there all this time?
It was the town I live in, Mangawhai, is the main reason I stayed. Epic skate park, which is why I stayed, and for me back then the waves were perfect. They're shit now, but back then they were perfect. So yeah, a combination of I didn't need a visa to stay. I could work straight away. I could transfer my license, and yeah, skate park was epic. Waves were epic. So I just hung out. It was easier than Hawaii, really.
Yeah, nice. You're a bit younger than I am, but have you been watching the Lee Ralph episodes on YouTube?
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%.
How good are
I'm
they?
not fully caught up yet, but I'm maybe 5 or 6 deep, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good, amazing, and what a production, man! He's done such a good job on it.
Yeah. It took a while. I believe, because I've been waiting for it to come out for a while. I believe he had his laptop stolen or his hard drive stolen, and then had to
Ah,
redo some interviews. And But the end result is unreal. So if
So
anyone out
good.
there loves their skating, go and search Lee Ralph on YouTube and you'll be blown away. I could go on about skating all day.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's probably more than surfing for me. Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into it. Some weeks back, Howie and I recorded an episode on rails, and in the introduction, we spoke about some of the tough times that shapers were experiencing. We get a lot of feedback from around the world, exactly how hard people are doing it after COVID, after that boom. And within a few days, I actually received a DM from yourself just about how you're trying to implement a new idea or more of a community idea. Um, but before I get you to explain all that, did you want to give the listeners your brief history and what you've been doing in the industry?
Yeah, sure. So I'm pretty new compared to every other one of your guests. I'm pretty new to the industry, I suppose, and even saying the industry is. I mean, I'm in a little tiny town up north in New Zealand, so I don't know how much connection to the industry we actually have. But I started shaping my first board in 2018, I think. And then that kind of led to me having a lot of resin and fiberglass laying around, which led to a lot of the buddies wanting me to fix their boards. And I spent about a year and a half, I think. I was a plasterer at the time, an interior plasterer. So I was just fixing mates' boards and doing a horrendous job at them. But then it slowly started to spread word of mouth more and more, and we didn't have a ding repairer in town, and we are a surf town, I suppose. We like to call ourselves a surf town, regardless of the surf. So yeah, I sort of saw an opportunity there, and I bought a $700 gardening shed in 2019 and kicked off Small Kind Ding Repairs, which was a little bit of an ode to Hawaii and a buddy back there who sort of got me into the world of shaping and playing with fiberglass. And yeah, eventually it took off and I could leave the plastering, thank God, and just start fixing boards full time. And within the year, I'd outgrown that $700 gardening shed. Basically got to winter and I was doing half the sanding outside because the shed was so tiny. And so once winter came, I couldn't, so I had to rent a space. And now I've basically got a surfboard factory, which is ridiculous. Yeah.
So that's a Colt surfboard that you make or your brand?
Yeah, a cult's a pretty new thing. So
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't call myself a shaper by any means. I'm definitely a glorified backyarder with a surfboard factory, which is kind of half the reason it's ridiculous. And I'm primarily dings, and so I make boards when the dings are quiet, basically. And I generally just make what I want to make, and then I put them up for sale, which was part of the reason behind Shapers Collective as well. And if people buy them, that's epic. And if they don't, well, eventually I'll just pull them off the racks and I'll take them myself. They're all made for me. Mostly, they're made for me. The occasional custom order for a buddy or a friend of a friend, but it's a lot of pressure, that custom order stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people take it more seriously than others, no doubt. Um, I am completely unfamiliar. I've never been to New Zealand. What's the surfboard market like in New Zealand, or I suppose particularly in your area?
Um, Segregated, I would say. Um, New Zealand is basically just a huge series of tiny rural towns. I mean, even our cities, you compare it to Melbourne or Sydney, Gold Coast, all those areas. Auckland is tiny, Wellington's tiny, Christchurch is tiny, and they're the biggest cities. So everything else is just a tiny rural town. And I found that that's kind of locked shapers into their own tiny communities. And so you rarely see, say, a shaper from Piha, which is out in West Auckland. You'll rarely see their board down in Raglan, but down in Raglan you'll see Mickey T's, and because that's his little zone, and everyone's geographically locked, which probably wasn't such an issue all the way back when, because you had your community of surfers and there was only you and one other guy they could buy boards from in that town. Sorry, Marley, shut up. But now, not only do you have those two local shapers, but you've now got three local surf shops who are importing huge amounts of all those brands that we all know and love. And their racks are just stocked and their prices are cheap. And so, yeah, it's segregated it even more, I would say, to a point where I would get locally made boards or New Zealand made boards into the ding repairs, and without hesitation in my mind, I would post it on Instagram like, wow, look at this, we got a Mickey T in, or we got a Sadhana in, or we got a DMG in, or whatever it is, because it was so rare for me to get New Zealand boards in for ding repairs. And eventually it kind of occurred to me that that's weird. Like, I should primarily be getting New Zealand boards in for ding repairs.
Yeah, for sure. What's the average price of a surfboard, like the retail price of a surfboard in New Zealand?
From a surf shop or from a shaper?
Yeah, well, both if you want to.
Both. I would say if you're going into your average Joe surf shop to buy all the ones we know, you're probably looking at between 800 and 1300 thereabouts. That can increase. I mean, if you're going to buy a 10-foot mal, then you're going to be paying more than that. But for your average sort of surfboard, and shapers seem to be charging anywhere from probably a similar price range, actually. Like, I had a guy come in yesterday to sell a new, well, not a new, sorry, a second-hand custom he had made by J-Dub, who's a shaper down West Auckland again, and I think that was about 1300 new for a custom six maybe thruster, step-up type of thing. Yeah, so for what the boards I'm kind of riding from 5'8" to 7 foot, you're probably looking at 800 to 1300 New Zealand.
Yeah, right. When it comes to supplies, the local manufacturers, do they have to import all of the materials? Are there any local producers of any surfboard materials?
Where our my list of suppliers is crazy for the ding repairs. It's actually nuts. We don't have like a Shapers Australia or a Sanded Australia over here. So I think a lot of guys, myself included, are purchasing from them. Sanded and Shapers are epic companies. Would love to have something like that over here. Otherwise, I'm getting like all my abrasives and masking tape and paper and stuff like that for painting. I'm getting from a company named Millen, but they serve mostly plasterers and house painters. And then we do have a resin company as well in Auckland, and they do surfboard resins and cloth and all that type of stuff, but they're mainly boat builder supplies, that type of stuff. And then my fiberglass cloth and stuff I'm getting from another company down in Hamilton, and they basically import from Australia and then sell with quite the markup on there. And then we have a distributor for futures, and we have a rep for FCS. But it's a lot. Like, my list of supplies is huge. It would be wild to be in Australia and just go to shapers.com.au and just buy everything I need, like that's the dream over here. I've got Shaper's email address, because a while ago I was going to reach out to them and say, hey, if you guys wanted to open up like a little sub branch in New Zealand, I think people would scream for it. And as far as blanks go as well, there's a few people importing blanks. I'm using Tessel blanks, which come from Brazil, I think. So there's a mob down in Mount Maunganui who bring all of them in. And then we've got a fella in Raglan who brings in PSI from Indo, I think they come from. And a few others. And the big guys like Roger Hall, Hayden Chamberlain, who are just north of me, they're importing all their blanks in container loads from Australia, and they have containers out the back of the factory. So they're paying a lot of money for that type of shipping and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Does New Zealand have big import taxes on things such as surfboards or materials?
I don't know, to be honest. I'm not
Yeah.
smart enough or rich enough to know about all that kind of import tax. I've imported stuff, but I've never paid tax. I've always just ordered it and it's arrived at my house, you know? So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
not 100% sure.
Are there any big surfboard brands actually licensing the production of their boards locally in New Zealand?
Yeah, there is. This is going to test my knowledge. So Lost or Mayhem down
Yeah.
south. God, who's doing them? Uh, I'm so bad with names, man. But yeah, they are. We've got Noma. I don't know where he is. I thought for a long time he was on Stewart Island, but I know he's way down south. But he's doing LSD. Who else is there? That might be about it as far as my knowledge goes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird to hear they're down south. Are you talking South Island south or just
South
south?
Island, yeah. And I'm pretty sure Noma is like deep south, like way down there. I'd have to ask him. I'm sure he told me once when we were yarning, but yeah, I think he's way down south.
Yeah, right. So you obviously established, created the Shapers Collective. What are some of the challenges you see the local shapers face over in New Zealand?
So the whole premise of Shapers Collective came well, it was kind of twofold, I guess. The first one is what I said about like never getting New Zealand boards in for repair, which just struck me as odd that I was so excited to like, wow, there's one there, and that was not the way it should be. And then secondly, I share my shaping bay with another guy called Justin. So he's House Surfboards, and so we went through a period of pumping boards out, and we had 4 or 5 that we'd made each, and they weren't sold. We just made them because we wanted to make them. And so 8 to 10 boards between us, and we had nowhere to sell them from that was clean and dust free, and you could have them on display, people could touch them. So we contacted a local surf shop here and said, hey, would you sell our boards for us in your shop? And they were like, yeah, of course, we'll do that. So we'll add 30% to the price. So 15% for GST and 15% for our staff and power bills and all that, which sounded fine in the beginning. I didn't know any better, and Justin didn't know any better. But it of course ended up, if I made a surfboard and I wanted to sell it for $1,000, now suddenly it's $1,300 in store on the rack, and I only wanted to sell it for $1,000. So I know that's too much. So the only choice I was left with was to take a $300 hit myself and charge the shop less. So with their markup, it would sell to the customer for $1,000. So that kind of didn't sit right. And then the fact that they were sitting in the racks with all of those big name brands, you know, with their marketing and team riders, and just like I had 4 boards in the shop and they had 50 boards in the shop. So the chances of anyone even seeing mine were slim to none because they were just buried. And then in classic surf shop way as well, which drives me nuts, skate shops have gone the same way, is I would go and check their Instagram every now and then, or their Facebook page, and the only thing they will have posted or advertised in the last 8 months, at one point 9 months, was hats, sunscreen, pool toys, sunglasses. Like, you're a surf shop, but if I were looking at your Instagram and your social media, I would never know that you even sell surfboards, let alone locally made surfboards, which were made like literally right next door. This shop was right next door to the Shaping Bay at that stage. And so that kind of shit me. And so then it got to a stage of like, well, what if Justin and I built our own space that we can put our own boards in? And then I can just flood the Instagram with nothing but surfboards, which is what a surf shop should be in my mind. Like, I'm not in there for pool toys and sunglasses. I want surfboards, you know, leashes, wax, that type of stuff. And so Justin and I started sort of toying around with the idea of building. I had a section of my sanding shed. So to give it a description of my workshop, I've got the sanding shed, which at that stage was 10 meters long by 5 meters wide. I've got my painting and glassing shed, which is 10 meters long by 5 meters wide. and then we've got the shaping bay, which is 5 meters long by 5 meters wide. And all the space was used except for half of the sanding shed. I don't need a 10-meter long sanding shed. I can only sand one board at a time, so I don't need multiple racks like the glassing shed. So I'd been toying with the idea of renting that half of the shed out to like a woodworker or somebody, you know, just to help me cover half the rent for that one sanding shed. And so then it sort of became obvious of like, well, what if we just halve it and build a shop in it and we can sell our boards from that? And then the worry for that was that Justin and I are incapable of pumping out enough surfboards to fill the space. It would look like a half-empty surf shop at best, you know? So then I started thinking, well, if we're having this problem selling surfboards at surf shops where surfboards should be sold in theory, then maybe other shapers are having the same problem too. So why wouldn't I invite other shapers to sell their boards? And from a selfish perspective, I just want to see them. Like, I want to feel them and hold them. And I'm a spent backyard shaper, so I want that inspiration and like I want to look at their rails and stuff, you know. So it'd be good for me. And then if I charge them very little, maybe I could get enough to just cover the rent of that half of my shed. And then basically I get a free showroom for the few boards that I make. And that's it. And Justin gets a free showroom for his boards too. So that was kind of the beginning of Shapers Collective from there. And we just had to work out a system where we could make money from the surfboards, but it couldn't be anything like what surf shops are doing because it just doesn't work for local shapers at all. So I don't even remember your original question.
It's funny because when times get tough in the surf industry, everybody leans on boards straight away. I've noticed a lot more shapers being interviewed on podcasts, and because at the end of the day, all you need is a surfboard, and then on top of that is a wetsuit, fins and leg rope, obviously, but that depends if you can get glass on fins and the likes. But yeah, your essential item to surf is the surfboard or surf craft.
100%.
And then I suppose what we've seen, and I don't know this factually, but from what I hear, you have those overseas brands like Firewire that they're such big monsters and produce such a huge amount of boards that rather than charging for warehouse space, they were just putting them in the racks, making shops look amazing and fully stocked for free because it was cheaper to do it that way than to pay for a warehouse. So
Yep.
yeah, there's definitely those challenges.
Yeah, 100%. Fighting something like that is huge. They're smart. They're smarter than me. Way better business people, and production-wise, shapers can't compete with them. Like marketing, they can't compete with them. And probably this sounds like a gross generalization, but I'm going to go with it that shapers generally aren't business orientated. They just want to make and sell surfboards. They don't want to be in some crazy battle within a market. And we're on the bottom arse end of the world, you know. It's brands like Firewire and all that. They're in the hub of it. And yeah, so I feel for the shapers, especially now with the way things have kind of gone financially. It's been interesting to talk to them and see where everyone's at currently.
Yeah, for sure. So did you want to lay out your actual I had the word. I'll start it again. Did you want to lay out for the listeners what your actual idea is and what you've implemented in your factory?
Yeah, for sure. Collective? Definitely. So essentially the way we've chased it is instead of marking surfboard shapers' prices up or taking a cut from each sale that they make of a board, which is essentially just taking money out of their pocket and limiting their chance of actually selling a board, because if we do that, then the prices aren't as competitive with those big overseas ones. We're now renting board rack space within the retail space or the showroom that is Shapers Collective. So if we've got I don't know how many, 50 board racks within the shop, and you just want to rent one board rack. Say you've got one board you want to sell. So you're going to rent one rack for $240, and that covers you for an entire year. So that's $20 a month it works out to. But I'm not going to invoice you every month. I don't have time for that. So $240 up front, and then you stick your board in that rack, and then a customer comes in and they buy the board. Well, you've already rented the rack for a year. So I don't take any money from that sale. I don't mark the price up to take any money from that sale. And when you sell the board, you just put a new board in the rack, and you've paid me my $240. So it's done. So you can sell as many boards as you want from that rack for the year, and you keep all the money. It's only a $240 investment. And initially we were going to limit each shaper, or we probably still will, to 6 racks per shaper, so that we don't turn it into the primal surf shop or the nowhere surf shop or whatever, and the little guys have a chance to, if they only have 2 or 3 boards, they're not surrounded by 47 other primals or nowheres or a cult or house or whatever. So it keeps it sort of fair for everyone. And man, to rent retail space for $240 a year, it's just, you'll never find a better deal than that, ever. I'd say quite often, it's the same price you pay for like Spotify or Netflix, but it's tax deductible because it's a business expense. And you get a full shop. Justin and I forked out all the money to build the space and paint the space and get all the signage and everything. So all you've got to do is $20 a month, and you've got retail space. And the benefit of the space is, because it fronts the ding repairs, 100% of the people that come through that space are surfers who buy surfboards, as opposed to your average surf shop, where what percentage of people that walk through an average surf shop are surfers who buy surfboards? Like, from what I've seen, these surf shops have all gone, they're basically clothing stores for soccer mums and insurance brokers with surfboards in it, but the surfboards are more decoration than like the focal point. So you're getting like 5% maybe of that clientele who might see your surfboards in your average surf shop are actually interested in possibly buying one. But with the ding repairs, everyone's bringing boards in, and their boards are all munted. So a new board, tempting offer, and when you're standing in a room surrounded by all these brand new shiny boards, and ones you've never heard of is the other thing I've noticed with customers too. It's like everybody goes into your average surf shop and they see all the Pizels and the Sharp Eyes and the Firewires and Almerics and all these brands, and everyone knows them. We've seen them a million times. It's getting boring now, I think. But nobody knows Kiwi Shapers, because there's never been a space before where you could go in and see all these boards together. And unless you want to drive hours upon hours to another town, and then you're like, oh, look, this town has this shaper, and I've seen a few of those boards down at the beach. You have no idea these shapers exist. So that's kind of the premise we've got going on now, and it's, the idea was that if for $240 is what that space is worth to me rent-wise per month. So if I can get 12 boards in, or 12 racks rented, then I get a free showroom for me. House gets a free showroom for him. And the shapers are paying my rent for a very low cost. They're basically paying 1 month's rent each. And then if I get more shapers in, hiring racks, then all of that money can be fed back into Shapers Collective. So, I mean, I've got grant. I'm definitely the type of person that overdoes things. But the money that's coming into Shapers Collective now, I need new roadside signage. I want to do a website so we can list all those boards on the website as well. But then there is room for expansion too that I can't afford currently. But if I can tuck some of that money away from other shapers, then I can expand it, which means we can get more boards in, and then we can get their shirts in and their hats and all that type of stuff. Maybe have a wall with their photos and sort of biography, like a short write-up of who the shaper is and where they're located, that type of stuff. So yeah, it's the money from Shapers Collective will hopefully go into making Shapers Collective better, and then maybe getting us to a point where we can start buying boards from shapers, and especially shapers who aren't interested in the space. Like Roger Hall is 30 meters up the road, so he's not interested in paying $240 a year to keep a board on our rack, which is fine. I totally understand it, but maybe we could buy a board from him. So he makes the sale, and then we'll just resell it, but it looks good on us because now we've got a Roger Hall in as well. And Wayne Parks is another one that stands out, who's shaping again now out of Roger's factory, and he's only shaping boards that are already sold. So if we could buy one from him and then have it in the racks and give someone else an opportunity to buy one of Wayne's probably last boards that he makes, that would be epic. And then there's opportunity too with so we've got the shaping bay, we've got the glassing factory, we've got the sanding space. So if shapers want to visit, if they want a tax-deductible holiday in Mungawhai, New Zealand, they can come and visit. They can shape a board, they can glass a board, they can finish a board, stick it in the shop, bring the whole family. Your holiday is now tax-deductible. You've got a space you can put it at. I've got the YouTube channel, so we can do a YouTube video on you and the shaping of this board. There's space there for podcasts. Like, the opportunity with Shapers Collective is massive, I think. So all that extra racks rented eventually will go to that. That's kind of the plan.
In some ways, it sounds very similar to the base model that they tried to start up many years ago amongst the brands Morris Cole, DHD, Pipe Dreams. But the problems they faced were all of these shapers had egos, and they were all trying to run the business the way they wanted. There was a CEO in place. There was a struggle to be top dog and the leadership. But when you're building it from the ground up like you are and including everybody as a community, you could definitely see the benefits of that. And local local surfers usually benefit from building that relationship with a local board manufacturer. The fact that you have those other brands in store, people can get them, local shapers can look at them, but then they can change that board, that design, that idea, and make it more suitable to the customer. So yeah, a lot of positives there for you and Justin, and definitely keen to see you do well. One of the things you touched on was the potential to buy the boards, from people like Roger or Wayne. But one of the positives I see is the actual cash flow in what you're doing is pretty rapid, especially depending on how quick the boards sell. If they don't sell, sure, the shape is sitting on, has a lot of money sitting in the racks. But if they're turning over, then one of the things I've had to deal with in the past, dealing with shops, is being strung out for payment over 90 days when the board's sold.
Yeah.
And it pisses you off.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've been paid.
Yep.
You've covered the costs, and then you're still left high and dry. So, yeah, I really like that, obviously.
Yep.
Is there room for custom orders? Like, do the shapers you're dealing with, are they kind of making it their base to operate out of and connect with customers?
Yeah, so that's part of the benefit of renting rack space and me not relying on money from actually selling the boards is that you can stick a board on that rack and say, hey, this isn't for sale, but it's just for people to touch and hold and feel. Maybe it's a demo board. So we've got a company called Blank Surfboards. They're actually shaped by Steve Morris, who's just south of me, 45 minutes or so in Silverdale. But they contract him to make their orders. So they've stuck demo boards in there. And so people can rent the boards for $50 a day, I think it is, or 24 hours rather. And then if they end up ordering a custom from that demo board, then the price of the demo board is deducted from the cost of the new board. So the boards don't have to be for sale. if someone comes in to Shapers Collective and says, hey, I really love this 6'2", no dogs fish, but I kind of want it in 6'6", and it's red, and I'd kind of like it in blue. Well, all right, sweet as. I'll get you in touch with the shaper, and he can shape it for you. Easy. No worries at all. And it doesn't matter to me. He's already paid his $240 for the rack, so it's not like I'm losing out because I don't get a sale. That's good. And it means the shaper doesn't have to worry about finding a new board to stick in that rack to replace because it hasn't left. So the space is 100% what the shapers want it to be for them. If they want it to be a showroom, if they want it to be a retail space, if they want it to be a surf rental shop, I'm cool with it. Pay for your rack, and man, you can put a hat rack on the rack for all I care. It doesn't bother me at all.
Well, that was one of the questions I had for you when you reached out. If a shaper has 6 boards in the rack and they come in there, and obviously you can't cover everybody, and they choose to order a custom, does the shaper get charged the 200 or get charged the fee? And you were like, no, they've already paid for the rack. So it's kind of just like a bonus spin that they get to make that board, and you keep your racks full, and everyone wins.
Everyone wins.
Your costs are covered, and they work that out.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the finances, I suppose, and this might be a little bit irrelevant, if someone comes in, they want to order a custom board from one of the shapers in the showroom, do you deal with that? Do you take deposits, or do you just put them in touch with the shaper and you keep doing what you're doing? Like, how much of your time gets tied up in running the showroom?
Right now, a lot. It's definitely very time consuming, more than I ever thought it would be. I thought, you just stick boards in a room and people will buy them, yeah. But luckily, I'm there for the ding repairs 7 days a week anyway. So that helps for sure. I don't have to pay staff or anything. As far as custom orders goes, right now, I haven't put anything in place. But one of my fears was shapers would think, well, you sell boards from there and House sells boards from there. So if someone comes in to buy this 5'8" fish and you have a 5'8" fish and you're the salesman, what's stopping you from saying, don't buy that 5'8" fish, buy this 5'8" fish, And so there was a fear there, shapers would be worried about that. And so then I thought about putting something in place where maybe if I can arrange a custom order from them, from a customer, then I get 10% cut or 5% cut or whatever from that custom order. So that way there's incentive for me to sell their board and not just sell my board, So I might put something in place. If that seems to be a fear for shapers, I'm happy to put that in place. But I definitely, I try really hard to be non-biased, My boards are pretty niche anyway. Like, I've got a limited market. If you don't listen to black metal, you're probably not buying my boards. They're all pretty grim. So, and I'd rather sell right now, I would rather sell another shaper's board because I want to prove that the concept works. And right now I've got a bunch of shapers who aren't in the showroom and are sitting back thinking, we'll keep our eyes on it and we'll see if it works. And if it works, then we'll get in contact. And I've got another couple of shapers in there who are like, can we try it for a month or 2 months? But no, you can't. You got to try it for the year, man, because we're in a recession. We haven't had waves all summer here. It's been the grimmest summer ever. So I want to sell these guys boards and I want to rent out their demo boards and I want to prove that, hey, this is worth it. If you make the long-term investment for $240, then it'll work. But I need their help to get the word out. The benefit of the space is once their boards are in there and they're posting my demo boards are in this space and I've got new boards in this space, well, that helps me grow my Instagram and all the rest. It helps the ding repairs because there's a ding repairs attached to it, and vice versa. Every time I'm posting and advertising, it's helping them. So yeah, right now I would rather be selling their boards than my boards because it's it's in the long-term benefit of the space. If it's going to work, I can't just use their boards as bait and sell my own. So there's nothing in place right now for like custom orders. Sorry to interrupt.
I've considered the retail space, getting my own shop in the past, and I'm a bit like you where I wanted to focus on locally made, get a community, sort of build a community and get that dialogue between shapers and surfers, improve on it. And one of the things I thought of was offering each shaper, like if they want to go in there for a day and man that showroom,
Yeah.
then and it leaves you to do your repairs and what you've got to do, and everybody shares the load. Well, that also gives them the opportunity that they can be in your position and go, well, I can push my board, or I can just service the customer, and then they'll probably understand the predicament you're in a little bit better as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that would be really hard in New Zealand because we're so rural. Like some of these shapers are 4-hour drive away, you know, and that's the close ones. So it would be difficult for them. But I like the idea of, I used to sell photos in an art gallery, and it was the same concept. Like if you wanted to have art in this art gallery, well, they rostered you on for a day a week to man the art gallery. It's a very cool concept, and it would probably work in a place like Queensland or Sydney where people are closer proximity, you know. And then you do have, like, doing shifts in this art gallery. I had the opportunity every time some tourist walked in to be like, wow, look at these photos of seals. Aren't they amazing? You could pack that for sure, and like pump my own shit, right? Like, yeah, that's the benefit of it. But it's probably worth mentioning too that the space is, so although it's primarily surfboards and the focus is shapers, everything in the shop or the showroom is Kiwi owned or manufactured. So it ranges, like it didn't sit right with me that, it's never sat right with me when your average surf shop hashtags support local and you go in there and you buy a bloody Thailand special. It's like, who am I supporting exactly? Like, I'm supporting your business, I get that, but you're then sending all that money overseas. And so I was kind of in the same position where I can get in local boards, but then if I just stock FCS and Future Fins, well, I'm still just sending my money overseas. And same with like hats and all that, leashes and that type of stuff. So everything in the store is Kiwi owned at the very least, and at best Kiwi manufactured. There's nothing from there. So we have a guy, he's from Papamoa down south, Pine Line Fins. Nathan is his name. All he does is make fins. He makes beautiful fins. And I got onto him originally because I hate making fins. So I was like, man, I'll get this guy to do it for me. And he's cheap. Too cheap. So I can stock up with him. And then there's another guy, Alta Fins. And those are made overseas. They're like China specials or wherever he gets them. But they're owned, the company is owned by a local guy. So even though it's overseas production, it's locally owned. The money goes in his pocket. And so if you come in, I had a guy come in last week. He bought a house surfboard. It was originally priced at $950 for a brand new 6.2, I think, thruster. He was umming and ahhing, so I said, I'll give it to you for $900. I'll knock $50 off. Bargain. He was stoked. He came in for a ding repair as well originally when he saw this board. He bought 3 board bags. He bought a new leash and a set of fins. And I threw in a block of wax because I'm a good guy like that. So in that one purchase of this one space, he supported Shapers Collective. He supported House Surfboards. He supported Small Kind Ding Repairs. He supported Alta Fins, and he supported Sticky Johnson Wax. So one purchase cost him a total of $1,300 for all that stuff, because I don't mark the prices up for boards, so they're cheap. And he supported 5 separate New Zealand companies, and that money all stays with those New Zealand companies, or small businesses, or local guys, you know. So it was epic to see, man. I love selling it, because it's, man, every time I do it, I'm like, wow, all this money is going to, like, it's here, and I get to call the homie who lives up the road and say, "Hey, bro, I sold a set of your fins. Here's your money." And same with the shapers and everything. It's sick. It's really sick, and it's only the beginning. We've only started in August, so I'm sort of waiting for the turnaround now, where I'm not constantly harassing the shapers. They're probably sick of hearing from me right now. I was like, "Hey, you got boards for me? Put boards in. What are you doing, man?" Like, and I'm waiting for the moment it switches, maybe in a year or two, and my phone just won't stop ringing, and it's all these Kiwi shapers like, "We got to get boards in there. How do we get boards in there?" And they're fighting to get in there. And then, yeah, the more money it makes, the more I can support these other little local guys like Pineline Fins, and Alta Fins, and yeah, bring all the niche things, artists and stuff. We've got some local artist named Joe who makes like comic book covers of our local surf breaks. They're epic. They're so good. And he's not on social media. He doesn't have a shop. So we can sell his stuff as well. So there's niche little things in there as well, and all the money stays at best in New Zealand and at best in Mangawhai and at worst in New Zealand, which is sick.
Yeah, that's unreal. So you've got some brands obviously interested at the moment. Did you want to give them a shout out? Who you're currently working with?
Yeah, definitely. So right now we've got in there House Surfboards, obviously. Justin, who I share my shaping bay with. And the other good thing about the space too is it's not for... As long as you're making a surfboard of sellable quality, I'm not taking your first backyard board, no way. But Justin's a pretty new shaper, and I'm a pretty new shaper too. But we put out a quality backyard product, let's call it. Even though we've got a factory, we're glorified backyarders. And then we've got guys like Blank, Steve Morris is a veteran. So there's a range, and we're not that biased. As long as it's not completely shagged finish, we'll sell it. So yeah, we've got everyone from House Surfboards. We've got No Dogs Surf Club, who's from Waipu, which is 20 minutes north of here. He's another backyarder, definitely, but he's a boat builder by trade, so his quality is really good. And he's good friends with Roger Hall, so I think he's been getting a lot of tips and help and CNC time with him, which is epic. Who else have we got? Blank Surfboards, of course. We've got OXS Skimboards, who are made up in the Bay of Islands north of here, which I'd never seen real skimboards before he put boards in, and man, those things are wild. They're so epic. We've got Noe, who's a shaper from sort of Muriwai way, which is down in West Auckland. And they say you're not meant to have favourites, but I reckon his are my favourites. Like, construction-wise, he's just doing everything under the sun. Every board is different, from like rail profile to construction material. Everything is quirky, weird, but he's done a really good job at keeping the aesthetic as his. You can see that he made that board, even though it's completely different construction to those ones. It's definitely his. And we had Primalin, who are Glenn is as old as you get in New Zealand almost. He's been shaping for a long time, since, I don't know, 70s, I guess. But he's actually just moved factory, so he was on Barry's Point Road in Auckland. I think he was the last remaining shaper there, but rent got too much for him, so he's just moved up to Dairy Flat, opened a new factory, a new shop. So he had to pull his stock out, because after 2-3 months of moving factory and shop, he opened his new shop and realised I had all of his boards. He didn't have anything to put in there. So we don't have any of his currently, but he has racks paid for the year. So I'm harassing him and saying, "Hey man, stick boards in." I still get people in saying, "Hey, I saw you've got these Primal boards. I'm here to look at them." And I'm like, "Oh, they're not here." But yeah, make contact with them and we'll get them back in. And I think,
Yeah, nice.
God, it'd be terrible if I forgot someone. Occult Surfboards, of course. The best surfboards ever made. Yeah, that's probably it at the moment. Like hard good wise.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and then Pineline Fins, of course. And then we've got the artist currently known as Joe with his prints. We've got these guys, Leadhead Hats, who are a company from Christchurch who make just the most high quality hats, but they all hold a pencil. Genius. Alter fins, Sticky Johnson for like leashes and bags. And that's it, I think. Yeah, so far. So the focus now is just
fairly complete.
Getting more shapers. You need more shapers in there. And I definitely have a list of the shapers I want, but dude, shapers are a weird breed. Eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
It definitely sounds like if the local community can get behind it, it's something that could be shared as well. So there could be you were mentioning the places down south or whatever, and over time, yeah, have shapers collectives based all around, and that would only promote the local shapers and provide a real competition to the imported stuff or the big brands.
100%.
Because at the end of the day, that's where it all started, and maybe that's where we're all heading back to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Especially with all this, I don't know much about it, but all this tariff stuff people are talking about and what that's going to do to surfboard prices from overseas. Who knows? So everything goes full circle eventually, yeah. So we've got to get back to that stage. And I think the opportunity for any ding repairer out there who's listening, like purely from a ding repair perspective, the thing that Smallkind got was, instead of my customers walking into a dusty, noisy, untidy shed with boards laying everywhere, my customers now walk into a nicely painted, carpeted, interesting to look at room with stuff to look at. So if I'm in the middle of glassing, they're entertained, you know. There's a TV playing New Zealand only surf footage. Like, there's stuff for them to do. I can finish laying up my resin and then come out and greet them. And I man it 24/7 basically anyway, doing the ding repairs. So I don't have to pay staff. It's no extra cost other than setting the space up. So I can definitely see a world where ding repairers are that's where you go and buy your surfboards. You don't go to surf shops anymore. You go to your ding repairer, and they're supporting all of their local shapers by having their stock in. And then it's going to work the same way. So, I mean, I've got Nowhere surfboards in the showroom. So if somebody goes to him and says, hey, I put a hole in my board, who's going to fix it? He's a shaper. He doesn't want to fix boards. He's going to say my name 100% because I'm a stock on his boards. Yeah. So I feel like there's a you scratch my back, I scratch your back relationship that could be had between ding repairers and shapers.
In Australia, I've definitely noticed a decrease in the places where you can get boards fixed, and definitely where you can get them fixed at a high level of high quality. Are there a lot of options for ding repairers in New Zealand, or as you said, it's very cottage and very rural and spread out?
Definitely ding repairers are a niche for sure. I think because everybody thinks they can do it. So everyone knows they can't shape a surfboard like Roger Hall. That's an obvious. But every second guy thinks he can fix a surfboard like I can. So that's why people hesitate to pay for it and they do it themselves. And people set up, like, you go see Uncle Tony up the road, he's been fixing boards since the 70s, and you get it back and you're like, God, what did he do? Like, he just piled up 7 layers of chop strand over my fin boxes. Because, yeah, I feel like everyone thinks they can do it. So there are definitely quality ding repairers in New Zealand, but certainly not as many as quality shapers in New Zealand. I can think of 3 or 4 like good professional ding repairers that only repair that I would recommend to my customers, and everyone else I've seen is like Uncle Tony in the backyard or surfboard shapers, and you'll wait 7 months for your repair because they'd rather be shaping than fixing boards. And in all honesty, surfboard shapers can't repair. They're just not good at it. The same way as ding repairers can't necessarily shape, surfboard shapers can't repair. And I think it's because there's very little shaping in ding repairers. Like, I got proficient at glassing very quickly because of the ding repairs. I'm a far more confident glasser than I am a shaper. because shaping it's completely separated, apples and oranges. But laminating a board and fixing a ding repair, it's the same job, it's just a different scale. So it's still pretty niche, I would say. And you can't charge is the other
anything
thing.
else you want to?
Sorry.
What was that?
I was going to say you can't charge too is the other thing. Like the overheads for ding repairs are the higher quality you want to produce, the higher your overheads are going to be. And because boards are only worth so much money, you can only charge so much. And I've said to a few people before, if you compare, like, if I punched a hole in your wall or kicked a hole in your car and you call your local jib stopper or your plasterer or you call your local panel beater painter to fix that hole in your wall or the dent in your car, which is identical to the one in your surfboard, it's going to cost you 4 times as much to get your wall fixed or your car fixed, because your house is worth $1 million and your car's worth $40,000, so people are willing to pay it. My materials are more expensive than a plasterer's, for sure. My overheads are more expensive than a plasterer's. They don't even have overheads because they work on site. People are willing to pay them, but people aren't willing to pay over a certain threshold for ding repairs, which I think is a reason you see a decrease in available ding repairers. And to me, that just screams that surfboards should be more expensive.
You're preaching to the converted there. Well, that's all I've got. Daniel, did you want to add anything, or is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to say?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We've covered Shapers Collective pretty well, I think. And at this stage, I'm just waiting for Shapers to hit me up, you know. The opportunity's there. I'm super flexible with payment. So the vast majority of Shapers in Shapers Collective right now haven't paid me a cent. Nothing. Because I just want the space to work. So, like with Noe, I've got an arrangement where, look, I'm not going to charge you thousands of dollars up front. We'll sell a board for you, and then I'll take the $240 out of that sale, and now you've got a rack for the year. If it doesn't sell, you don't spend anything, I don't get anything. So I'm super flexible, the risk is really low. So just the word I'm trying to get out to New Zealand Shapers is, man, make some stock boards, put them in. The only thing you've got to lose is a tax deductible $240, and that's it. It's super low risk for retail space. And especially if you're trying to break out of your little town that you're kind of trapped in right now, like you shape boards for this town, and no one from another town will buy your boards because they've got this guy that shapes boards for that town. Yeah, I feel like the opportunity for Shapers is really good.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we'll definitely post up a bunch of photos, and we'll post up, obviously, your contact details. So if anyone around the world is looking to travel to New Zealand and take up some of that rack space as well, at least they can land, get a glass by you guys, and have it in the racks and have a bit of a local connection, and maybe even build on that as well, hey? As well as the
100%.
local shapers.
Yeah, for sure. I was speaking to... this is going to make me look bad. Is it SJ Customs? Can I look someone up real quick? Because I feel
Scotty James?
Yeah, Scotty James. That's him. Yeah. So I was talking to him. He's a Kiwi. And so I was yarning with him about his concaves and his fish, which are epic. Love them. And we started talking, and I was like, he's got family here, like just up the road. So I was like, dude, come over for a holiday. It makes your holiday tax deductible. All you got to do is shape one board. I can get you the blank, so it's here when you land. And yeah, do it. And then you've got a retail space to sell your board from. And obviously for a visiting shaper, I'm not going to charge him $240 for a year worth of rack rental, because once the board sells, he's not going to be here to replace it, you know? So we'll come up with some other arrangement. But as long as the thing's made in New Zealand, to have visiting shapers and stuff is epic. For me as well, like to see these guys shape and get to touch their boards and see their process is, super cool opportunity. And we're in a beautiful part of the world. So it's not like I'm asking you to holiday in like downtown Melbourne, you know? Like I live in paradise, bro. There's a reason I moved here and gave up on the Hawaiian dream.
Yep.
So yeah,
Good.
yeah, the word's
What's
there.
the best way for people to get in contact with you, Daniel?
Instagram is probably Small Kind Ding Repairs has both Instagram and Facebook. Shapers Collective has Instagram, so you can message me through there. My phone dings every time you message, so I'll hear it, and yeah, get in touch.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for the chat, and hopefully it sort of, I don't know, makes people think outside the box and definitely encourages people to work with one another for a common good goal.
Yeah, no, appreciate the chat, man. It's funny to talk to you after listening to your voice on podcasts for so long. So it's very cool. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, you have a good day.
I will. Enjoy, man. Take it easy. Hope you get a wave.
Cheers.
Recording stopped.
Awesome, man. That went great.
Easy.
What was that? Yeah, look, hopefully it even helps your cause in getting people keen to jump on board, you know what I mean? Like the fact that you're getting the attention or hearing your goodwill. I'm a bit like you where I think on your own, you can succeed to this level, but as a group, who knows?
Yep.
Like, what better brand to have than Shapers Collective New Zealand? And if over time, you get a few different outlets in different areas where people are doing exactly you, but you're sharing it all.
Yep.
Like, I love the idea, but that's,
Yeah, I think it could
that's
work.
just us, yeah.
The other thing too, which I see as an opportunity for shapers, but they don't seem to have seen it the same way. A lot of the shapers I've spoken to have been like, "Oh, bro, I love the idea. It's really sick, but I only make customs. I don't do stock boards." And that, the more I thought about that, the more I'm like, that's kind of a rubbish business model. Like, if that business model worked, all of these overseas brands would be doing exactly that. But they only make stock boards because that's what works as a business thing. And to me personally, I mean, I get shapers love making, like, meeting the customer, seeing how they surf, trying to make them the perfect board. That's like the challenge. But also, for me at least, I love making boards that I'm like, oh, if I was going to go to this wave, what would I want to ride? And then I make that board for myself and put it up for sale. And there seems to be an aversion with, not all, but a lot of the shapers that I've talked to, they seem to have forgotten that you have to spend money to make money. So they're like, well, I'm not going to buy resin, I'm not going to buy a blank, I'm not going to buy fiberglass until a customer comes and gives me the deposit, which will pay for all of that, as opposed to what any other business in the world would do and say, all right, I'm going to save up $5,000, $10,000, and then I'm going to pump out a bunch of product and hope that people come and buy it. And that's business. Like these surf shops that we're talking about, some of them they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on stock contracts. And they're basically rolling the dice that, well, customers are going to come in and buy it and I'll double my money. And shapers seem to be quite averted to that concept of you got to spend money to make money. And it's the only way to make money.
Unfortunately, there's definitely a lot of fear in the industry. And some people, I agree with what you're saying. Like some people don't know they like a board until they see a board, and you might really want to create that board,
Yep.
And someone, no, it might not be for everybody. That's the other thing with shop stock. Like you got to throw out the bait, and you don't know what's going to bite. So yeah, you have to take some risk to some degree. It's just how much you're prepared to back yourself, and if you're working with local surfers, you kind of should know what's going to sell.
Yeah.
Base of what's going to sell anyway, and then have a little dabble either side of that where you can take a little bit of risk.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like those stock boards don't necessarily even have to sell. Like if somebody sees one of your stock boards and is like, man, I love this thing, but I like the color pink, then will you get a custom order? Make the same board, or let's tweak it a little bit in the tail or something like that. But you're still selling boards via those stock boards. But yeah, there has seemed to be a bit of an aversion to that with quite a few of the shapers I've spoken to. There was one shaper I spoke to who he worked in Australia for years in the big factories, glassing all those big name boards and makes really nice boards, amazing. So when I first approached him about the idea, his ego was it was there. Like his stance was New Zealanders can't shape for shit. Even the best New Zealand shapers can't shape for shit. And if they went to Australia and tried to jump into that industry, they'd learn a lot, which may or may not be true. But then when I turned around and said to him, bro, well, put your money where your mouth is. Like, if your boards are all that and nobody else's boards are all that, stick your boards in and you should be selling 100% of the boards because your boards are just that league above everyone else's. Does he have boards in the space? Nah. Nah. He had the ego there, but he hasn't backed it up yet, which is interesting. But then I've had the opposite from the smaller guys who are like full-time people, and they're like, oh, well, we could put our boards in, but like if someone like Roger Hall or Steve Morris is in there, how do we price them? Like if he's got a $1,200 board or a $900 board and we've got a $900 board, no one's going to buy our board over his because these guys are legends, you know? They've been doing it longer than I've been alive. So I've seen the opposite too of like people who have no faith. Yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting.
But in time, if people like Roger and the elders can get involved, well, that's one end of your scale, and then you have your other end of the scale, and then you cover those price points. Everything is in between, and makes sense.
100%.
So people, it all finds its resting place, and everybody moves similar amount of boards because they're priced accordingly.
Yeah, and I feel like everyone caters to specific surfers too, especially post-COVID, man, where everyone's a surfer. And so, like, people come in and you ask them what type of board they want, and they're like, oh, I want one I can pop up on and go straight to the beach in whitewash. Like, all right, I basically want a soft top, but I'm sick of my soft top. So, dude, these guys are for you because
I don't want to look like
exactly, yeah. And so it's not like you don't want the most outrageously refined, beautifully crafted, chined railed, tail block, resin stringed Roger Hall. You just want a nice looking, respectable looking board that floats and paddles fine and is going to catch a wave, and you're even going to be able to turn left and right on it. And we have shapers for that too. And these shapers are like the more backyard kind, you know, like, or smaller. They're probably full-time builders, but on the weekends they make boards. So there's a market there for everybody, I think.
Yeah, epic. Yeah. Yours will be out next. I recorded one the other day, but I try and mix them up between shaper interviews and outside the bay and all this sort of stuff. So, and the surfboard element. So yours will actually be the next one released. So it'll probably be a week away, depending on my time, just to get in and edit and put it all together.
Yeah.
So there's no rushes today, but yeah, if you get it to me, in the next week or so, then when it's launched, I can follow it up with that sort of visual.
Yeah, nice one, Ken. And I'll send you all those brands' Instagram handles as well, so you got them easy if you need them.
Yeah, that'd be unreal. That'd really help. Yeah.
I listen to you on Spotify, but where else do you release?
Oh, so I launched the host site is called Buzzsprout.
Yep.
And so I list it there, and it just goes out to all the podcast affiliates, I suppose.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, Apple Podcasts and Google. I don't listen. I only listen to Apple myself.
Oh, true. Yeah,
listen to Spotify actually.
Yep.
I have listened to Spotify, but mainly it's Apple, and just because I'm lazy.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And so, but it goes out like so. As you know, with the YouTube, you get all the the analytics, and you find out what's going on here, there, and everywhere, and it's really it blows me away, to be
It's
honest.
crazy, yeah.
Yeah. So, and the places, like fucking weirdest places, the countries, and yeah, I don't have any desire for it to be any different to what it is now.
Yep,
The ones that are into it just freak out and froth out. So
definitely.
um, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, no, epic, man. So
Um,
good.
yeah,
Nice one.
I don't want to be. Yeah, I'm happy just keeping it low key, and then
Yeah,
hopefully in I don't know a few months I'll have that sort of YouTube um, series
yeah,
put together, and yeah, that'll be another interesting sort of stepping stone, I think.
yep, definitely. Yeah, no, look forward to that. It'd be cool to have something like specifically on tails and channels, did you say?
Channels, yeah. So I've got the Jim Pollard channels. Um, I've got like the classic channels with the shorter channel on the rail to the larger channel in the middle, and then inverting that. I've got curved channels. I've got jet bottom, and I've
Yep.
got what else is there? I had like 5 or 6 boards,
Yeah,
different
nice.
channel bottoms, but it'll be all off the same pre-shape to to isolate that channel bottom.
Yeah, epic. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so um, a bit self-indulgent and uh, yeah, just I've hit up a couple of bands that I can use their music
Nice.
and um, um, it'll be yeah. I think a lot of people like the visual stuff, so it could be yeah a bit weird.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. And then I guess it
Mm,
kind of gives you a platform too where you could tack this onto it as well. And even just something to learn how a platform like YouTube works, it's yeah.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. And in a perfect world, maybe do one project a year on YouTube,
Yep.
like that,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and just keep it niche and just see what happens. Though it's all time prevailing. Like,
Yes, definitely.
yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah. So
Nice one. Good stuff, man. Thank you very
awesome, mate.
much. Appreciate
Have a
it.
good day. No, froth, and I hopefully it. I, I'm not anti-shop, but they hold all the cards and they hold all the power, and it's not at the benefit of local shapers, and
No.
that's
Or
what
surfers.
the industry is built on.
Yep.
Like,
100%.
and
No, everybody
so
loses. The shapers lose and the surfers lose as well because
yeah,
we're forced to buy these boards because there's nothing else available. And the worst part is the vast majority of those pricks don't even know what they're talking about. Like I heard one girl try to sell one of my boards at this surf shop once, and I was mortified at what she said about it because she wasn't a surfer. She
yeah,
had no idea. I was like, "What are you
zero idea.
doing?" So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
hopefully
scary.
it spreads. Yeah,
Yeah, cool. All right, mate.
nice
Well, have a
one.
good day.
Cheers, bro. You too. We'll see you
You
later.
can see, you, mate.
Shoots.